I was standing in front of 12 people in that glass-walled conference room, halfway through my presentation, when my manager, Diana Kruger, interrupted me. "This is embarrassing. Sit down." Her voice cut through the room like ice. She proceeded to tear apart my work, the 6-month marketing strategy I had spent weeks perfecting, right there in front of our executive team and the clients from Hartwell Industries. My face burned as I collected my laptop and notes silently. What Diana didn't see was the client's CEO, James Hartwell, texting me under the table. I sat frozen in my chair, unable to move, unable to breathe. Diana had taken my place at the front of the room, and she was clicking through my slides, the ones I had created, researched, formatted, but she was presenting them as if they were hers, calling them revised versions that she had worked on over the weekend. My phone buzzed against my thigh. I glanced down carefully, not wanting to draw attention. "Unknown number. Don't react. This is James Hartwell. That presentation was exceptional. Your manager just stole your work. I've seen this before. Meet me in lobby in 20 minutes. Delete this text." My heart hammered against my ribs. I read it twice, then deleted it with shaking fingers. James Hartwell, the CEO of Hartwell Industries. He knew. He had seen what Diana just did. I looked up at the front of the room. Diana was gesturing enthusiastically at a slide showing projected revenue growth. That slide had taken me 4 hours to create, pulling data from 6 different sources. Now she was explaining it as if the insights were hers. The Hartwell Industries team was nodding, taking notes. They looked impressed. Diana's voice was confident, smooth. She had always been good at presentations. That was how she had risen so quickly through the ranks at our company. She knew how to talk, how to sell, how to take credit. She finished 20 minutes later to genuine applause. The Hartwell executive stood, shaking her hand enthusiastically. Their chief operating officer, a woman named Barbara, with silver hair and kind eyes, told Diana it was the most comprehensive strategy proposal they had seen. Diana smiled graciously, accepting the praise. Then she turned and looked directly at me. The smile remained on her face, but her eyes were cold, triumphant. She had won, and she wanted me to know it. I stood on trembling legs and walked out of the conference room. I needed to get to the bathroom before anyone saw me cry. The women's restroom on the 14th floor was empty. I gripped the edge of the marble sink and stared at my reflection. My face was still flushed, my eyes bright with unshed tears. I was 32 years old, had been with this company for 4 years, and I had just been publicly humiliated by my manager. The door opened. Sarah walked in. Sarah was in her mid-30s, had been at the company for 5 years, worked in the marketing operations department. We had coffee together sometimes, collaborated on projects. She was one of the few people I trusted here. "Blake," she said quietly, glancing back at the door to make sure we were alone. "I'm so sorry. That was brutal." I couldn't speak. If I opened my mouth, I would start crying. Sarah moved closer. "Listen to me. Diana's done this before. She buried the last person who challenged her." I found my voice. "What do you mean?" 3 years ago, there was a guy named Trevor. Super talented, had this innovative approach to digital campaigns. Diana was his supervisor then, too. Sarah's voice was barely above a whisper. Trevor noticed Diana taking credit for his work. He documented everything and went to HR. And, within 2 months, Trevor was fired for performance issues. But Blake, we all knew it wasn't performance. Diana systematically sabotaged him, changed his project deadlines without telling him, claimed he missed important meetings that were never on his calendar, fed false information to HR about his attitude and work ethic. My stomach dropped. Where is he now? Last I heard, he left the industry entirely. Couldn't get another job in marketing. Diana made sure of that. Sarah's eyes were sad. I wanted to say something back then, but I was scared. I have 2 kids. I can't afford to lose this job. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to be careful. Diana has allies in HR. The director, Pamela Brooks, seems to be in Diana's pocket. I don't know why or how, but every time someone has a problem with Diana, Pamela shuts it down. I processed this information, feeling sick. I'm supposed to meet with James Hartwell in 15 minutes. He texted me during the presentation. He knows Diana stole my work. Sarah's eyes widened. That could help. But Blake, be really careful. If Diana finds out you're talking to the client behind her back, she'll spin it as you going around proper channels. I nodded. I have to take that risk. 20 minutes after the presentation, I was standing near the coffee shop in our building's lobby, pretending to check my phone. James Hartwell appeared, holding a paper coffee cup, looking casual. He was in his early 50s, tall, with gray hair and sharp blue eyes. "Walk with me," he said quietly. We strolled toward the windows overlooking the street. To anyone watching, we were just 2 people having a casual conversation. "I recognized your presentation style immediately," James said. 2 weeks ago, you sent me a preliminary deck directly. It's company protocol for initial client communication, correct? Yes. I always send preliminary materials to clients to make sure we're aligned before the formal presentation. Diana's version today was 95% identical to what you sent me. Same language, same data, same recommendations. She barely changed anything except the name on the title slide. Relief flooded through me. He believed me. He knew. But here's the problem, James continued, and my relief evaporated. My company is in the middle of negotiating a multi-million-dollar merger with your company. We're in the final stages. If I cause problems now, if I formally complain about Diana's conduct, it could derail everything. We're talking about hundreds of jobs at stake. The merger finalizes in 2 weeks. So what are you saying? I'm saying, I need you to stay quiet for 2 weeks. After the merger is finalized, I'll have the authority to speak up. I'll make sure the right people know what happened. But right now, my hands are tied. I felt trapped. 2 weeks. I know it's asking a lot, but I promise you, I will not let this go. Your work was excellent. You deserve credit for it. What if she fires me in the next 2 weeks? James's jaw tightened. Do you have documentation? Emails, file versions with timestamps, anything that proves you created that presentation? Yes, everything. Keep it safe. Keep copies somewhere she can't access. And Blake, watch your back. People who steal credit are usually willing to do worse to cover their tracks. We parted ways. I went back upstairs, my mind spinning. 2 weeks. I could survive 2 weeks. I was wrong. When I got back to my desk, Diana was waiting. She was standing beside my chair, arms crossed, her expression cold. My office. Now. I followed her, my pulse racing. Diana's office was on the corner, all glass walls, a view of the city. She shut the door and turned to face me. You disrupted an important client meeting today, she said flatly. What? I didn't do anything. You told me to sit down and I sat down. Your presence was disruptive. Your body language communicated hostility. Our clients noticed. This was insane. Diana, I sat quietly. I didn't say a word. She picked up a paper from her desk. This is a formal write-up for unprofessional conduct during a client presentation. It's already been reviewed and approved by Pamela Brooks in HR. I stared at the document. It was already printed, already signed by Pamela. They had prepared this in advance. "Sign it," Diana said, holding out a pen. "And if I don't, then I'll have security escort you out of the building today for insubordination." My hands were shaking as I took the pen. I read the write-up. It claimed I had interrupted the presentation flow, demonstrated negative body language, and created an uncomfortable environment for clients. All lies. But it was my word against hers, and Pamela had already signed off. I signed it. "Good," Diana said, taking the paper back. "Now, you're being placed on a performance improvement plan starting Monday. You have 30 days to demonstrate significant improvement in your work quality and professional conduct. Failure to meet the requirements will result in termination." "Diana, this isn't fair." "You know it isn't." She smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "Life isn't fair, Blake. You'll learn that. Now, get back to work. And don't ever go over my head to communicate directly with clients again. All client contact goes through me from now on." I walked back to my desk feeling like I was underwater. Everything was muffled, distant. This couldn't be happening. I had done excellent work. James Hartwell himself had said so. But none of that mattered, because Diana held all the power. Monday morning, I arrived at work to find everything had changed. My office was gone. The small but decent space I had occupied for 2 years, with a window and enough room for a desk and 2 guest chairs, was gone. My belongings had been moved to a windowless room in the basement. It was barely larger than a closet, with concrete walls, fluorescent lights that buzzed constantly, and no ventilation. The air was stale and cold. I sat down at the desk that had been crammed into this space and tried to log into my computer. Half my access was gone. I couldn't open shared drives where campaign materials were stored. I couldn't access the project management system. My corporate email signature had been changed. Where it used to say, Blake Harrison, Senior Marketing Strategist, it now just said, Blake Harrison, Marketing Staff. They had stripped my title. I tried to call IT to fix the access issues, but the person who answered told me the restrictions were management-directed and would not be reversed. I spent the morning trying to figure out how to do my job with one hand tied behind my back. The performance improvement plan sat on my desk. Diana had emailed it at 7 in the morning. 5 major projects. 30 days. Each project would normally take 2 weeks minimum, and I was expected to complete all 5 in a month while reporting daily to Diana on my progress. It was impossible. It was designed to be impossible. At lunch, I walked through the building to get coffee. Coworkers I had known for years suddenly found reasons to look away when I passed. Nobody wanted to be associated with someone on a performance improvement plan. It was like I had become invisible. I spent my lunch break researching Diana. I pulled up her LinkedIn profile. Impressive trajectory. She had climbed quickly, but there were gaps. A 2-year period where her employment history was vague. I dug deeper, searching business journals and news archives. Finally, I found something. A small article from a Houston business publication, 4 years old. Diana had been fired from a company in Texas for ethical violations. The details were sparse, carefully worded to avoid legal issues. But the article mentioned she had been dismissed following an internal investigation into workplace conduct. I sent a message through LinkedIn to 3 people who had worked at that Texas company during the same period Diana was there. I kept the message brief, and professional, saying I was currently working with Diana and would appreciate any insights into her management style. One person responded within an hour. Is this about her stealing credit for your work? That's her pattern. Get out now. She's dangerous. That evening, after everyone else had gone home, I sat in my basement closet and stared at my phone. A woman named Jenna, who had left our company 8 months ago, had called me back. Thank you for responding, I said. I should have warned people before I left, Jenna said. Her voice was tired, sad. But I was in survival mode. I just needed to get out. What happened? I was exactly where you are now. Diana targeted me about a year ago. I had created this whole influencer partnership program, spent months developing relationships, building the framework. Diana took the entire program, presented it to leadership as her idea, and got a promotion. When I tried to speak up, she isolated me, moved me to a terrible office, cut my access to resources, put me on a PIP. Did you go to HR? Yes, I had evidence. Emails, documents, everything. But Pamela dismissed it all, said it was my word against Diana's, and Diana was a senior leader with a proven track record. Then, Diana started spreading rumors about me, told people I was difficult to work with, that I had attitude problems. Within 2 months, I was fired. I'm so sorry. The worst part was what came after, Jenna continued. I tried to get another job in marketing, but everywhere I interviewed, they wanted references. When they called our company, Diana made sure they heard terrible things about me. I couldn't get hired anywhere. I ended up leaving the industry. I work in a completely different field now. My throat was tight. Did you ever figure out why Pamela protects her? No, but there's definitely something there. Diana has leverage over Pamela somehow. I heard Diana mention something about Phoenix once, something that happened before Pamela came to our company, but I never found out what it was. We talked for another 20 minutes. Jenna told me about 2 other people Diana had destroyed. The pattern was always the same. Steal credit, isolate the victim, force them out, ruin their reputation so they couldn't recover. After we hung up, I sat in the dark and cried. Then I opened my laptop and started documenting everything. Every email, every file version, every interaction with Diana. I created a timeline. I copied everything to my personal cloud storage, somewhere Diana couldn't reach. If I was going down, I was taking notes. The next morning, Tuesday, I arrived at work to find an emergency meeting scheduled, 7 in the morning. Diana, Pamela, and me. I walked into the conference room. They were already there, sitting on one side of the table. I sat across from them, feeling like I was facing a firing squad. We need to discuss a serious situation, Pamela said. Her voice was cool, professional. She was in her late 40s, always perfectly dressed, always controlled. Last night, an email was sent from your account to the entire marketing department. It contained inappropriate comments about Diana's leadership and unprofessional statements about other executives. My stomach dropped. What email? I didn't send any email. Pamela turned her laptop around. There it was. An email from my account, sent at 11:47 the previous night. The subject line was, "Tired of the lies." The content was harsh, angry, full of criticism of Diana and vague accusations against company leadership. I had never written this email. I didn't send this, I said, my voice shaking. Someone else accessed my account. Blake, the email came from your account, Diana said, her voice full of false sympathy. I understand you're upset about the performance improvement plan, but this kind of lashing out is unacceptable. I wasn't in the building at 11:47 last night. I can prove it. I have security camera footage from my apartment showing I was home. I pulled out my phone, found the video from my home security system. It clearly showed me walking into my apartment at 9:15 and not leaving. Pamela barely glanced at it. You could have sent it from your phone. Check my phone records. I didn't send any emails from my phone. Diana leaned forward. Or you shared your password with someone, having someone else send it on your behalf. That's ridiculous. Why would I do that? Pamela's expression hardened. Sharing passwords is a serious security violation, Blake. That alone is grounds for termination. I was trapped. Either I had sent the inappropriate email, or I had violated security policy by sharing my password. Neither was true, but I couldn't prove a negative. I did neither of those things, I said firmly. Pamela closed her laptop. This is your second written warning. One more incident and you will be terminated. Do you understand? Someone hacked my account. Someone in this building accessed my email at 11:30 last night. That's what the login records will show. We've reviewed the security logs, Diana said smoothly. Nothing unusual was found. They were lying. They had to be lying, but I had no way to prove it. I left the meeting and went straight to the IT department. I explained the situation to the senior IT manager, a guy named Paul who I had worked with on several projects. Paul, someone accessed my account last night from inside the building. Can you check the logs? He looked uncomfortable. Blake, I was told this morning not to share any access logs related to your account. Management directive. Someone framed me. I believe you, he said quietly. But I can't help you. I'm sorry. I walked out of the IT department and headed toward the elevators, my mind racing. Diana had hacked my account, or had someone else do it. She was actively framing me, creating a paper trail of misconduct that didn't exist. I needed help. I couldn't fight this alone. I pulled out my phone and texted James Hartwell. Things are getting worse. Diana is framing me. Is there anything you can do? He responded 10 minutes later. I'm sorry, Blake. Still 9 more days until the merger finalizes. Hold on. I promise this will be worth it. I felt abandoned. 9 more days. I wouldn't last. 9 more days. That afternoon, I made a decision. I stayed late at work, making sure to log my time carefully in the system, so there was a record of when I was in the building. I used my phone to photograph original presentation files, showing creation dates and timestamps. I screenshot emails between James Hartwell and me from 2 weeks ago, proving I had sent him the preliminary deck. I documented everything Diana had done. Then I copied everything to 3 different cloud storage services and emailed backup copies to my personal email address. If Diana was building a case against me, I was building one against her. At 6 o'clock, I gathered my things and headed to the parking garage. My car was on level 3. I walked through the concrete structure, my footsteps echoing. When I reached my car, I stopped. All 4 tires were slashed, not just flat, slashed. Deep cuts in the rubber. I stood there, staring, my heart pounding. This wasn't random. This was a message. I called building security. A guard came up, an older man named Ted, who had always been friendly to me. He looked at my car and shook his head. Did you see anything on the cameras? I asked. Ted looked uncomfortable. Cameras on level 3 have been malfunctioning for the past few hours. No footage. How convenient. Blake, he said quietly, looking around to make sure we were alone. I was told this morning not to monitor level 3 today. Someone called it in first thing, said the cameras needed maintenance. I'm sorry. Someone had planned this. They had disabled the security cameras in advance. I filed a police report. But the officers who responded were sympathetic but unhelpful. Without camera footage, they said, it was just random vandalism. Happened all the time in parking garages. I called a tow truck and an Uber. By the time I got home, it was after 9. I had spent over $300 on towing and emergency tire replacement. Money I couldn't really afford. I climbed the stairs to my apartment building, exhausted, furious, and scared. There was an envelope taped to my door. My hands were shaking as I pulled it off and opened it. Inside were printed photographs. They showed me meeting with James Hartwell in the lobby last week. The angle suggested they had been taken from security cameras. Someone had been watching. There was also a typed note. Collusion with clients violates your employment contract. Drop this or these. Go to the board of directors. You'll be fired for corporate espionage. I went inside, locked the door, and slid down to sit on the floor with my back against it. Diana wasn't just trying to get me fired. She was surveilling me. She had people helping her. And now she had evidence, twisted as it was, that I had been meeting secretly with clients. I was being hunted. I barely slept that night. Every sound in my apartment building made me jump. I kept thinking about those photographs, about someone watching me, documenting my movements. Wednesday morning, I dragged myself to work. I had to complete the first PIP project by Friday. It was a comprehensive social media campaign strategy for a new product launch. Normally, I would have had 2 weeks and access to our analytics team. Now I had 3 days and half my tools taken away. I got to the office at 7:30 to get a head start. Diana was waiting at my basement desk. "Morning meeting's been moved up," she said. 4 o'clock today instead of Friday. I stared at her. "What?" "I sent you an email about it yesterday. We need to review your first PIP project today." I checked my email. There was no message from Diana about moving the deadline. I didn't receive any email. Diana's smile was cold. "That's not my problem. 4 o'clock, conference room B. Have your deliverables ready." She walked away, heels clicking on the concrete floor. I had 8 hours to complete a 2-week project. It was impossible. And Diana knew it. I worked through lunch, through coffee breaks, didn't stop. I pulled together the best strategy I could with limited time and resources. It wasn't my best work. It wasn't even close. But it was something. At 3:45, I printed the presentation and headed upstairs. At 3:50, as I was walking past the cafeteria, someone stopped me. Gregory Walsh, the VP of Technology. He was in his late 50s, with gray hair and a thoughtful expression. I had worked with his department on several integrated campaigns. He had always been respectful, professional. "Blake, do you have a minute?" I glanced at my watch. "I have a meeting at 4. "This won't take long." He gestured to an empty table in the corner of the cafeteria. Saturday. "I've noticed something," Gregory said quietly. "Over the past year, 3 talented people from Diana's team have left the company under difficult circumstances. You're the 4th I've seen being targeted. You know what she's doing?" "I suspect. But I don't have proof. Diana is careful. She documents everything in her favor, manipulates situations, isolates her targets." He leaned forward. "I've been keeping my own documentation, notes about the pattern. But I need something concrete before I can act. If I go to leadership with just suspicions, Diana will destroy me too." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm an ally, if you need one. But I need you to be careful and strategic. Don't give Diana any legitimate ammunition against you. It's too late for that. She's already set me up to fail. Then you need to find out what Diana has on Pamela Brooks. That's the key to everything. Pamela should have stopped this months ago. The fact that she hasn't means Diana has leverage. How am I supposed to find that out? I don't know, but that's the weak point. Find it, and you might be able to break Diana's power. I thanked Gregory and rushed to the conference room. I was 2 minutes late. Diana was already there with Pamela and 2 other managers I barely knew. "Nice of you to join us," Diana said. I set up the presentation with shaking hands. I walked them through the social media strategy. It was decent work under the circumstances. Not great, but decent. Diana tore it apart. Every slide, every recommendation, every piece of data. She found fault with everything. The other managers followed her lead, piling on criticism. "This is substandard work," Diana concluded. "It demonstrates exactly the kind of performance issues we're trying to correct." "I had 8 hours to complete this," I said. "You moved the deadline without telling me. I sent you an email. I never received it." Diana looked at Pamela. "More communication issues. This is concerning." Pamela made notes on her tablet. I wanted to scream. Instead, I gathered my materials and left. Back in my basement office, I made a decision. I couldn't wait for James Hartwell. I couldn't wait for Gregory Walsh. I needed to act now. I took the elevator to the executive floor. The receptionist tried to stop me, but I walked past her. I needed to speak to the CEO, Robert Cunningham. He was a reasonable man, wasn't he? If I could just explain what was happening, maybe he would listen. I waited in the executive lobby for 2 hours. Other employees came and went, shooting me curious looks. Finally, at 6:30, I saw Robert leaving his office. I stood up and intercepted him in the hallway. "Mr. Cunningham, I need to speak with you. It's urgent." He looked surprised. "Do we have a meeting scheduled?" "No, but please, I just need 5 minutes. It's about Diana Kruger. She stole my work. She's sabotaging me. She's done this to other employees. I have documentation." Robert's expression shifted from surprise to concern. "Those are serious allegations. Send me what you have. I'll review it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Send it to my executive assistant. She'll make sure I see it." I felt a spark of hope. Finally, someone was listening. I went back to my desk and spent the next hour compiling everything. The original presentation files, the emails with James Hartwell, the timeline of Diana's actions. I put it all in a clear, organized document and sent it to Robert's assistant. Then I went home, feeling for the first time in days like maybe I had a chance. I was wrong. The next morning, Thursday, security was waiting at my desk with Pamela. "Blake Harrison, you're being terminated effective immediately," Pamela said. The world tilted. "What?" "Job abandonment. You failed to attend a mandatory meeting yesterday. I went to speak with Mr. Cunningham. It was an emergency. You have no authorization to access the executive floor. That's considered trespassing. Additionally, we've received a formal complaint from Hartwell Industries claiming you've been sending inappropriate and persistent messages to their CEO." My blood ran cold. "That's not true. James Hartwell contacted me." Pamela held up a printed document. "This is the complaint, dated yesterday. It alleges harassment." I grabbed the paper. It looked official, had the Hartwell Industries letterhead, but it was fake. It had to be fake. "This isn't real. James Hartwell wouldn't write this. Are you calling our client a liar?" "I'm saying someone forged this." Diana appeared in the doorway of my basement office, carrying empty boxes. "Let me help you pack your things, Blake." 20 minutes later, I was being escorted through the main lobby by security. People stared. Everyone watched as I was walked out like a criminal. At the exit, Diana handed me a severance agreement. Sign this, and you'll receive 2 weeks of pay. It includes a non-disclosure agreement and a non-disparagement clause. If you don't sign it, you get nothing. I had 5 minutes to decide. I thought about my rent, my car payment, my student loans. I signed it. Diana's smile was triumphant. Good luck with your job search, Blake. I'll make sure everyone knows how this ended. The security guard walked me to the parking garage. I sat in my car with new tires and cried. Thursday afternoon, I sat in my apartment and stared at my bank account on my laptop screen. With the 2 weeks of severance, I had enough money for maybe 2 months of rent if I was extremely careful. After that, I would be in serious trouble. I couldn't use anyone from the company as a reference. Diana had made sure of that. And marketing was a small industry in our city. People talked. Word would get around that I had been fired from a major firm. I felt hopeless. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Blake? It's James Hartwell. I sat up straight. James, did you write a complaint about me harassing you? What? No, absolutely not. He sounded angry. I heard you were fired. Blake, I never filed any complaint. That document was completely fabricated. I know, but I can't prove it. I'm going to the board of directors today. I don't care about the merger timeline anymore. This has gone too far. I signed an NDA as part of my severance. NDAs can't protect illegal activity. What Diana did is fraud, harassment, and possibly criminal. But Blake, I need you to have proof. Your word against hers isn't enough. I have some documentation, but not enough. Then get more. I'll do what I can from my end, but you need to build a solid case. We hung up. I felt slightly better knowing James was on my side, but I was still unemployed, still under an NDA, still with no clear path forward. That afternoon, my phone rang again. Another unknown number. Is this Blake Harrison? Yes. This is Angela Torres. I worked with Diana Kruger in Texas 4 years ago. A woman named Jenna gave me your number. She said you might need to hear my story. Please. Yes. Tell me everything. Angela had been Diana's supervisor at the Texas company. She explained that Diana had been hired as a senior marketing manager and had immediately started stealing credit from her team members. When employees complained, Diana deflected, manipulated, and eventually began blackmailing people to keep them quiet. How did you finally catch her? I asked. She made a mistake. She kept digital records of everything. It was like she couldn't help herself. She had folders full of original work from her team members, alongside her revised versions. She documented her schemes. Why would she do that? Arrogance, maybe. Or insurance. Some people can't help documenting their victories. Angela paused. We were going to prosecute her, but she disappeared before we could. Moved to another state. Changed companies. Did she have something on your HR department too? Yes. She had discovered that our HR manager's husband was having an affair. Diana had proof, photographs. She used it to keep the HR manager from investigating complaints against her. The pattern was clear. Diana always found leverage. Angela, thank you for telling me this. Be careful, Blake. Diana is dangerous, but she always keeps records. If you can find them, you can stop her. After we hung up, I sat thinking. Records. Diana kept records. I remembered something from 3 weeks ago, before any of this started. I had been in Diana's office for a routine meeting about quarterly targets. Her laptop had been open on her desk, unlocked. I had glanced at the screen while she stepped out to take a phone call. There had been a folder visible on her desktop, The label had been personnel, confidential. At the time, I hadn't thought anything of it. Managers had confidential files about their team members, performance reviews, salary information, that kind of thing. But what if it was more than that? I pulled out my phone and texted Sarah, my coworker who had warned me about Diana. We had exchanged personal numbers. I need help with something. Can we talk? She called me 20 minutes later. Sarah, I need to get into Diana's office computer files. Blake, are you insane? You were just fired. If they catch you in the building, you could be arrested. I think Diana keeps records of everything she's done. If I can get those files, I can prove what she is. This is crazy. Maybe. But I'm out of options. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. The cleaning crew comes through around 9 at night. I know one of the cleaners, Manuel. He's worked here for 15 years. He's a good guy. Could he help? I could ask him to forget to lock Diana's office door. But Blake, if you get caught, I can't help you. I have kids to support. I understand. And if you do this, you need to be in and out in under 10 minutes. Security does rounds every 15 minutes on the upper floors. Okay, this is Thursday. Can you be ready tonight? My heart was pounding. Yes. That night at 9:15, I was back at the building where I had worked for 4 years. I was wearing dark jeans, a black jacket, and a baseball cap. I looked like I was trying to break in, which I suppose I was. Sarah met me at a side entrance and used her badge to let me in. You have 10 minutes maximum. Diana's office is on the 14th floor. Manuel left it unlocked. Get what you need and get out. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Just don't get caught. I took the stairs to avoid security cameras in the elevators. My hands were shaking. My heart felt like it was going to explode. Diana's office door was unlocked, just as Sarah had promised. I slipped inside and closed the door softly behind me. Her laptop was on the desk. I pressed the power button. It woke up from sleep mode. No password. Diana was so arrogant, she didn't even password protect her computer. I found the folder immediately. Personnel, confidential. Inside were subfolders for 6 different names. I recognized 3 of them: Trevor, Jenna, and one other person who had left the company before I joined. I opened Trevor's folder. Inside were dozens of files. Original project documents he had created. Diana's revised versions that were nearly identical. Emails showing her manipulation. Notes in Diana's own handwriting about pressure points and weaknesses she could exploit. The same pattern was in every folder. Diana had systematically documented her destruction of 6 employees over 4 years. And there, at the bottom, was a folder with my name on it. I opened it. Diana had been planning to take me down for 2 months, long before the presentation incident. She had notes about my work style, my friendships in the office, my financial situation. She had researched me like I was a military target. I pulled a USB drive from my pocket and started copying everything. The files were large. The progress bar moved slowly. 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Come on, come on, come on. 7 minutes. The door opened. Diana stood in the doorway, her hand still on the light switch. She looked at me, at her laptop, at the USB drive. Hello, Blake. I had a feeling you'd try something desperate. Behind her, a building security guard appeared. I called security an hour ago, Diana said calmly. Told them we had received a tip about a potential break-in from a disgruntled former employee. They've been watching the side entrance. I looked at the laptop. The files were still copying. 82% complete. "Step away from the computer," the security guard said. "This is evidence," I said, my voice shaking. "Evidence of fraud, harassment, blackmail. Look at these files. Look at what she's done." Diana smiled. "It's not just termination now, Blake. It's criminal trespass and corporate espionage. I'm having you arrested." The security guard pulled out his radio. "We need police at the 14th floor. 94%. "Please," I said. "Just look at the files. She's been destroying people for years." Diana walked over and slammed the laptop shut. The USB drive was still plugged in. She yanked it out and held it up. "Stealing proprietary company files. That's a felony." Sirens in the distance, getting closer. I had the evidence. I had everything I needed to prove what Diana was. But I had obtained it by breaking into her office, by trespassing, by technically stealing files from company computers. Everything I had found would be inadmissible. Any lawyer would get it thrown out. Diana had won again. 2 police officers arrived within 5 minutes. They took my statement, took Diana's statement. To them, this was simple. A fired employee broke into her former manager's office and attempted to steal company files. They put handcuffs on me. As they walked me out of the office, Diana leaned close and whispered, "You should have stayed down, Blake." The police officers were leading me toward the elevators. My hands were cuffed behind my back. I couldn't believe this was happening. I was going to be arrested. I would have a criminal record. My career would be over. Wait. Everyone turned. Gregory Walsh, the VP of Technology, was walking toward us. He looked calm, authoritative. His badge was clipped to his belt. "Officers, there's been a misunderstanding," Gregory said. Diana's eyes widened slightly. "Gregory, this woman broke into my office. Blake contacted me this afternoon with serious allegations about corporate fraud. I authorized her to gather evidence after hours." Gregory looked at the police officers. "She's here at my request." It was a lie. A bold, complete lie. Gregory was risking everything to protect me. Diana's face flushed red. "You have no authority over marketing department personnel, but I have authority over IT security and data integrity," Gregory said smoothly. "If there's evidence of fraud on company servers, it's my responsibility to investigate. Blake reported suspected misconduct, and I authorized her access to investigate." The police officers looked at each other, confused. "So this is an internal company matter?" one of them asked. "Yes," Gregory said firmly. Diana stepped forward. "No. This woman was terminated yesterday. She has no business being in this building. She's here as part of a formal investigation I'm conducting," Gregory said. "If you have concerns about that, we can call the CEO right now and straighten this out." The mention of the CEO made everyone pause. One of the officers turned to me. "Did this man authorize you to be here?" I looked at Gregory. He nodded, almost imperceptibly. "Yes," I said. "He asked me to help with an investigation." The officers looked frustrated. "This sounds like a civil matter, not criminal. You people need to sort this out internally." They removed the handcuffs. Within minutes, they were gone. Diana was shaking with rage. "Gregory, you just ended your career." "Maybe," Gregory said calmly, "but I'm tired of watching you destroy good people." I quickly explained what I had found on Diana's computer. The folders. The documentation of her schemes. The evidence of 6 employees she had systematically targeted and destroyed. Gregory's expression hardened. "Show me." Diana moved to block access to her computer. "That's private property. You have no right." "That's company property," Gregory corrected. "And as VP of Technology, I'm now seizing it as evidence of potential corporate fraud. Diana grabbed for her laptop. Gregory stepped in front of her. Touch that computer again, and I'll have you removed from this building, he said. Diana's eyes flashed. I'll call Robert. I'll call the board. You're finished. Go ahead, Gregory said. Let's call them right now. Let's call James Hartwell from Hartwell Industries while we're at it. I'm sure he'll be interested in seeing these files. Diana's confidence cracked, just for a second. That's when Sarah appeared in the doorway. She was holding up her phone. I recorded everything, Sarah said quietly. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. I've been in the hallway for the past 10 minutes. I filmed Diana admitting she set up the break-in trap. I filmed her trying to destroy evidence. I have it all. Diana stared at Sarah. You're fired. You can't fire me, Sarah said. I don't report to you. Gregory took control of the situation. Diana, sit down. Blake, Sarah, stay here. I'm calling Robert Cunningham right now. He pulled out his phone and dialed. It was 10:30 at night, but he called the CEO anyway. Robert, it's Gregory Walsh. I'm in the office with a situation that requires your immediate attention. Diana Kruger, Blake Harrison, and evidence of systematic fraud. You need to come in now. While we waited, Gregory sat at Diana's computer. He opened the personnel confidential folder. His face went pale as he read through the files. This is worse than I thought, he said quietly. She documented everything, all 6 people she targeted, the methods she used, the blackmail, the manipulation. He looked at Diana. Why would you keep all this? Diana sat in her chair, silent now. Her earlier confidence had evaporated. She was calculating, thinking. I suddenly understood. She was using it as insurance. Gregory looked at me. She has evidence against herself, but she must have evidence against the company too, I said. Against leadership. That's how she's gotten away with this for so long. Diana smiled coldly. You're smarter than I gave you credit for. What do you have on them? I asked. You'll see soon enough. Robert Cunningham arrived 25 minutes later, along with the head of legal, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Flores. Robert looked tired and angry. Patricia looked alert and professional. Gregory showed them everything. The folders, the documentation, the evidence of Diana systematically destroying 6 careers. Robert's face went gray. How long has this been happening? At least 4 years, Gregory said. Patricia was taking notes rapidly. This is massive liability, wrongful termination suits, hostile workplace, intentional infliction of emotional distress. We're looking at millions in damages. Robert turned to Diana. You're suspended pending investigation, effective immediately. Diana laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound. Suspend me? Do you know what I know about this company? About you, Robert? Diana stood up. Fire me, and I release everything. The off-books accounts, the manipulated client contracts, the executive compensation scandals. I've been documenting it all for years. The room went silent. You've been blackmailing the company? Patricia asked. I've been keeping insurance, Diana corrected. You think I'm the only one who's done questionable things here? I learned from the best, from you people. She looked at Robert. I know about the Miami contract, the one where you inflated costs by 30% and pocketed the difference. I have proof. Robert's face went white. Diana turned to Patricia. And I know about the sexual harassment settlements you've been burying. 3 of them in the past 2 years. Paid from a discretionary fund to keep them out of the official books. Patricia's expression didn't change, but I saw her hand tighten on her pen. "So here's what's going to happen," Diana said. "I'm going to walk out of here with full severance, a glowing recommendation, and complete immunity from any legal action. Or I go public with everything. Your choice." I watched my chance at justice slipping away. Diana had been blackmailing the entire company leadership. That's how she had gotten away with everything. That's why Pamela had protected her. "I need to speak with our board," Robert said quietly. "You have until tomorrow morning," Diana said. "Have your lawyers draw up the agreement." She walked toward the door. "Wet," a new voice said. We all turned. James Hartwell was standing in the doorway. "Who let you into this building?" Diana asked, her voice sharp. James Hartwell smiled. "I'm a board member now. As of 6 o'clock this evening, the merger finalized early, which means I have every right to be here." Diana's confidence wavered. "The merger wasn't supposed to finalize until next week." "Plans changed," James said. He walked into the room carrying a tablet. "We've been conducting due diligence for 3 months, investigating your company as part of the acquisition process. We found some very interesting things." He set the tablet on the desk and opened a folder. "Diana, you mentioned off-books accounts. We know about them. We've known for 6 weeks. We also know about the executive compensation issues, the buried settlements, all of it." He looked at Robert. "Your company has been cooperating with federal investigators in exchange for reduced liability. The board approved it last month." Robert looked shocked. "I didn't know about any federal investigation." "Because you're implicated," James said bluntly. "The board has been working with authorities quietly. As of 3 hours ago, warrants were issued." Diana's face drained of color. "That's impossible." "Your blackmail material is worthless," James said, "because we already know everything. The prosecutors already have it all. You're not exposing anything new." 2 men in suits appeared in the doorway behind James. They held up FBI badges. "Diana Kruger, you're under arrest for wire fraud, extortion, and conspiracy to commit fraud," one of them said. Diana tried to run. She actually tried to push past them, but they caught her easily, turning her around and handcuffing her. "This isn't over," Diana hissed, looking at me. "I'll destroy you. I'll destroy all of you." "No," I said quietly. "You won't." They led her away. Her screaming echoed down the hallway until the elevator doors closed. The room was silent for a long moment. James turned to me. "I'm sorry it took so long. We wanted to move faster on the merger, but regulatory approvals were delayed. When we finally got clearance today, we pushed everything through early." "You knew about Diana the whole time?" "We suspected. When you sent me that preliminary presentation 2 weeks ago, I recognized quality work. When Diana presented an identical version, I knew something was wrong. I had my team investigate your situation." He looked around the room. "We discovered Diana's pattern. We also discovered the company's financial irregularities. The board made a decision to cooperate with federal authorities and clean house." Patricia Flores spoke up. "What happens to our employees who were complicit?" "That depends on their level of involvement," James said. "But Pamela Brooks is also being arrested tonight. She was actively participating in Diana's schemes." I thought about Pamela. The HR director who had enabled Diana for years. Did Diana have something on her? James nodded. "Pamela embezzled funds from her previous employer in Phoenix. Diana found out and used it to control her. The FBI has evidence of that too now." Robert Cunningham looked devastated. He had just learned his company was under federal investigation, and his executives were being arrested. "What happens to the rest of us?" he asked. "That depends," James said. "The board will be conducting a full review. Anyone involved in illegal activity will be terminated and prosecuted." Anyone who was merely negligent or incompetent will have a chance to improve or resign. Gregory spoke up. What about the employees Diana destroyed? Trevor, Jenna, the others? We'll be reaching out to all of them, James said, offering settlements, apologies, and in some cases their jobs back if they want them. I felt tears stinging my eyes. Justice. Finally, actual justice. James turned to me. Blake, on behalf of Hartwell Industries and this company's board, I apologize for what you went through. You deserved better. Thank you, I managed to say. We'd like to offer you your position back, with a promotion. Senior Director of Marketing Strategy, significant raise, Diana's old office if you want it. I looked around the room, at the glass walls, at the desk where Diana had sat and plotted to destroy people's lives. Can I think about it? I asked. Of course. Friday morning, I woke up in my apartment, feeling like I had dreamed the entire previous night. But when I checked my phone, there were news notifications. Major marketing firm executive arrested in fraud scheme. FBI investigates corporate corruption. Diana's arrest was real. It was over. My phone rang. It was Sarah. Have you seen the news? She asked. Yes. Everyone at the office is talking about it. Diana's gone. Pamela's gone. Robert resigned this morning. The board is bringing in new leadership. She paused. Blake, thank you. You saved us all. I didn't do it alone. But you started it. You were brave enough to fight back. We talked for a few more minutes, then hung up. I made coffee and sat by my window, watching the city wake up. James Hartwell called at 9. Have you thought about our offer? He asked. I have. I'd like to accept, but not Diana's old office. I'd like my old office back, the one I had before she moved me to the basement. Done. And Blake, we're scheduling a presentation for next week. Your original marketing strategy for our company, the one Diana stole. We'd like you to present it properly this time. 1 week later, I stood in the same glass-walled conference room where Diana had humiliated me, but everything was different now. The room was full of supportive colleagues. Sarah sat in the front row smiling. Gregory was there, giving me an encouraging nod. The new interim CEO, a woman named Caroline who had been brought in by the board, sat next to James Hartwell. I presented my marketing strategy, the one I had spent weeks perfecting. This time, no one interrupted. No one tore it apart. They listened, asked thoughtful questions, and took notes. When I finished, the room applauded. James stood and shook my hand. This is excellent work, Blake. Exactly what we were hoping for. We're approving the full campaign. The contract was worth $3 million. My name was on it as the lead strategist. After the meeting, I walked back to my office. My real office, with windows and actual space. Sarah had left a coffee on my desk with a note, "Proud of you." I sat down and looked at the framed photo on my desk. It showed me with my mother at my college graduation. My mom had always told me to stand up for myself, to never let anyone make me feel small. I texted her, "Mom, I finally understand what you meant about courage. It's not about not being scared. It's about doing the right thing even when you're terrified." She responded immediately, "I always knew you were strong. Love you, sweetheart." Over the next few weeks, the company reached out to all of Diana's former victims. Trevor, the man who Diana had destroyed 3 years ago, was offered his job back with a significant promotion and back pay. He accepted. Jenna was offered a settlement and an apology. She declined to return to the company but used the settlement money to start her own consulting business. 4 of the 6 people Diana had targeted received justice in one form or another. The company implemented new policies, mandatory ethics training, anonymous reporting systems, regular audits of management practices. Caroline, the new CEO, made it clear that this kind of behavior would never be tolerated again. Diana was prosecuted. The trial lasted 3 months. She was found guilty on multiple counts of fraud and extortion. The judge sentenced her to 5 years in federal prison. I attended the sentencing hearing. When Diana was let out in handcuffs, she looked at me one last time. But there was no threat in her eyes anymore, just defeat. Outside the courthouse, Angela Torres was waiting. The woman from Texas who had warned me about Diana's pattern of keeping records. We hugged. "You did it," she said. "You stopped her." "We did it," I corrected. "Your advice saved me. You had the courage to act on it. That's what mattered." 6 months after Diana's arrest, I was sitting in my office late one afternoon. The sun was setting over the city, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. I had just finished a successful campaign launch. The client was thrilled. My team was celebrating. My phone buzzed. It was an email from a young woman named Casey. She worked in the digital marketing department, had been with the company for 8 months. "Hi, Blake. I was wondering if I could talk to you about something. My supervisor has been taking credit for my work, and I'm not sure what to do. I heard about what you went through with Diana Kruger. Would you be willing to give me some advice?" I smiled and typed back, "Absolutely. Come to my office Monday morning. We'll figure this out together." Because that was the real lesson I had learned. Evil people succeed when good people stay silent, when they isolate us, when they make us believe we're alone. But we're not alone. There are always allies, if we're brave enough to look for them. There's always hope, if we're strong enough to fight. I looked at the glass-walled conference room where my nightmare had begun. The room where Diana had humiliated me, tried to destroy me. Now it was just a room. She had no power over me anymore. I closed my laptop and turned off the light. I walked out of the office with my head high. Not just a survivor, but a victor. And I would never let anyone make me feel small again. So let me ask you something. Have you ever faced someone who tried to take credit for your work or sabotage your success? How did you handle it? Did you fight back or walk away? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, if it reminded you that courage means standing up even when you're terrified, please hit that like button. It helps others find these stories when they need them most. And subscribe to this channel if you want to hear more stories about real people facing real challenges and finding the strength to overcome them. Because we all need reminders that justice can prevail, that bullies eventually fall, and that our integrity is worth fighting for. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Someone who's facing their own Diana, their own impossible situation. Let them know they're not alone. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope you walk away from this feeling a little braver, a little stronger, and a lot more ready to stand up for yourself. Remember, you are not alone. You are stronger than you think. And you deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep fighting for what's right.